Hello. It's Temi Siyanbade here, Houston-based attorney and host of Ask Temi Live, where we discuss the best ways to establish your business, protect your name, and keep your profits. Now, this video is the first video in a really important series where we are trying to make sure that you know exactly what you need in order to make sure your 2024 is a year of legal protection and peace of mind. All right, we have boiled things down to the basics, and we want you to kind of have your radar up for things to look out for in 2024. Okay, so let's jump in. Today's video is going to be focused on what you need to know in order to not get in trouble with the government. Okay, I don't want you to have to deal with any fees. I don't want you to have to deal with anything that's going to say, oh my gosh, you messed up here with there. I don't want you to have to deal with that. So this video is all about, again, avoiding trouble with the federal government. And so this is the number one key. This is what I want you to take away. In order to avoid issues with the government in 2024, one of your priorities needs to be transparency. Transparency. That is the big thing that is being pushed from the top down. Everyone wants to know what people are doing, and along with that line, like transparency and alignment. So let me give you a few examples, some legal things that are coming down the pipeline that you should know that deal with this idea of transparency. Some of these things are brand new, some of these things have been around for a while, but it's all things that you need to know. So the first one that I want to let you know is I want you to know about something called the Corporate Transparency Act. Now, if you're like me, you might be a fan of the show Ozark. It's gone, sad day, right? But in Ozark, if you remember, there's some shady business going on. And one of the things that they do to kind of do this shady business is they create these fake corporations and fake LLCs, right? To try and hide the shady stuff that they're doing. Well, that happens in real life, and the government doesn't want that to continue. So there are incentives to make sure that people are more transparent about what they own, right? And how they benefit. And the Corporate Transparency Act is all about that. So starting in January of 2024, all businesses that are formed basically through some type of registration with the state are going to be required to provide information about their ownership to the federal government. Now, I know some of you have worked with me, you've created these anonymous LLCs. You want this privacy. You don't want people to know what you have going on. And for the most part, as of now, we haven't heard of anything that's going to release this type of information to the general public. This is for the government to be able to be aware so that they can keep in mind what's going on and make sure people aren't breaking laws. So what does this look like? This looks like people who own LLCs, people who own corporations, people who own limited partnerships, and entities, again, that have to be registered. It looks like those people kind of filing a document with the government that says this is the entity, the business, the corporation, the whatever, and these are the people who are beneficial owners of this. This is their identification. This is what they go by, and it's pairing these things up together and submitting that to the government. Now, if you're one of my clients and you sign up for some of the programming that I'm going to have coming up, we'll be able to take care of that. And I'll tell you a little bit more about that. But just be on the lookout for information about what that's going to look like. I think it's going to be really helpful. But for the most part, I want you to understand that this is a new rule going forward. So whether you've created a business in the past or you're creating an LLC, a corporation, or some type of registered business in the future, you are going to have to comply with this new Corporate Transparency Act. It is all the talk in the business law community, but not everywhere else. So could you also do me this favor of spreading the word to people? I really want folks to know that if you own an LLC, I mean, even if you know other attorneys, because I don't think other attorneys who are outside of the business area actually know this. We need everyone to be on top of this Corporate Transparency Act. So that's one example of transparency being a big deal. Another one is an oldie but a goodie, kind of new, and this is for people who are in that e-commerce space or people who are on the online space. You may have heard of the GDPR, that is the General Data Protection Regulation. And so that's still around. It's not going anywhere. And some people, when it came out and was rolled out, they were thinking, oh, this is just for companies in Europe, but it's really not. It has far-reaching implications for businesses. And it's really about being transparent with the data that you are collecting from the people who visit your websites, right? In the EU, especially in Europe, their laws are really, really, really strict, and there are heightened fees associated with it. But because we're in a global world, because we are online, right? The work that's happening in Europe, you might have clients or customers in Europe. That means that you are impacted by the GDPR. If you have people who are visiting your website, right, from these other nations, then this is something you need to be aware of. And the big thing with the GDPR is you want to make sure that you're being very transparent about what data you're collecting. So that means if you have a website that has cookies, you need to be really transparent about that. If you are collecting people's email addresses, you need to be transparent about that. And it's not just about what you're collecting, it's also what you're doing with that information, right? So we have being transparent about what you're collecting, being transparent about what you're doing with that information. Are you using it in order to improve your sales? Are you using it in order to fulfill obligations, like somebody's buying something from you? So you need that information to fill your end of the bargain, right? What is the purpose behind it? And the third component of the GDPR is making sure that what you say you do with the data and how you protect the data is aligned with what you actually do. So it's not just enough to say, hey, here's the data I'm collecting and here's what I'm doing with it. It's also like, this is what I'm doing to protect it. And we're being transparent about what these policies are. You'll find most of your information with regards to GDPR really hidden within, or not hidden, it should be clear actually. That's one of the requirements of this law, is that it's found in your privacy policies. So if you are somebody who you have a website, first of all, privacy policies are a requirement. They're not an option, but you also want to make sure that they are up to par, that they meet the standards required by the GDPR. And here's the other thing. The GDPR is a big overarching idea, concept with regards to data, but if you think that it's just in Europe, listen, it's coming here too. So right now in the big scheme of things, the United States doesn't have a united data protection rule. So what you're seeing are states coming up with their own individual ones. And every year there are more states. The leader in this was really California. But at this point, we have close to 10 different states at this point that have their own unique data protection rules. And what they want to make sure is that you're transparent again about what you're doing with the information that you're collecting from the people, the citizens of these different states. So don't think it's just for Europe, it's for you too. And you might need to add to your 2024 roadmap updating your privacy policy to make sure that you are complying with what is required with the states in the United States as well as the GDPR. Another example of this need for transparency is in the space with ESGs. So you may or may not be familiar with this, but this is the idea that, there are these environmental, social, and governance standards that people are governing or using to kind of they have in their businesses, right? Then this is people saying these are the things that are important to our business. We're trying to protect the environment. We have some social things that we're trying to do and governance things that are important, standards that we are implementing. And they're super important. But here's what the government is cracking down on. There are people who are pretending to care about the environment or pretending to have social norms or pretending to have things with regards to how they're governed, but it's for fake. It's not real. And this practice is called greenwashing when it comes to environment and blue washing when it comes to social things. And essentially it's like saying, all of our products, are sustainable, or all of our products are X, Y, and Z, but not really having that. Now, I know if you're one of my clients, you are about your business. So I know that you're not one of these people who are making these mistakes. But what we want to make sure is that we're being as clear as possible when we are saying that we are being sustainable, or when we're saying that we're doing things to improve society, when we're saying that we're doing something beneficial, we want to be really clear and specific. So an example of this might be that if you are indeed using sustainable products, right? And you are trying to make sure that that's one of the pillars that your business is built on, you want to be specific about what exactly is sustainable. Is it the packaging that you're using? Is it the product that you're using? Is it both? Is it only one? Let's say you're in the food business and you're saying that all of this is organic. What does that mean? How are you processing food? How are you handling food, right? We want to be as clear as possible. When we are clear, when we are specific, we avoid being found wanting or being found that looking like we're violating this greenwashing or blue washing rules. Now, are there any specific rules about greenwashing or blue washing? Not right now. But what is happening is we have the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission, and they're all about making sure they're protecting consumers from people and businesses that are not being ethical, right, and not being clear. So the FTC is going and they're saying, are you trying to take advantage of people? Are you trying to deceive them? Is this really what you're about? If not, you could be hit with a fine. Right? So those are the major things that I want you to keep in mind in 2024. I want us to look back at our policies and make sure we're as transparent as possible. If you make transparency one of your pillars for 2024, you're going to be erring on the side of caution, and you're probably going to end up on the front line when it comes to all these different rules. Now, this is just leading into 2024. We don't know what rules might come in the middle of 2024, but I've kind of given you a brief overview of what to keep in mind. This is the general flow we're sensing from the legal space. So again, let's be really big on being transparent when it comes to how we're doing things in our business so that consumers can build trust. And I think that's the biggest thing that I want you to take away. With regards to transparency, it's not just about complying with the government, but it's about building those relationships with your consumers, with your clients, with the people you're serving, where they're saying, this is a brand, this is a business that I can trust because they are transparent with me about how they do things and why they do things. All right, so that's all for today. Make sure that you have these emails marked aside, that you're looking for them. I'm not going to bombard you. I'm not going to make these videos super long because I don't want you to be overwhelmed. I just want you to know what you can do in order to make sure your 2024 is legally protected and brings you peace of mind. That's all for now. Until next time, I'll talk to you then. Bye.